Hi all. Better late than never. I'm a day late. Sorry about that. But let's go over week 6 and week 7 a little bit. So last week was our discussion of societal population health, looking at disasters, pandemics, health inequality and inequity, etc. So hopefully you got some good things to ponder out of our readings for last week. Lots of interesting stuff there, and then our discussion, our assignment, etc. All that good stuff as normal. So if you do have any questions on the our topics from last week, please let me know. But judging by quiz questions, I think folks were pretty clear on the content, and we've been living most of it for the past couple of years. So keep that in mind, and hopefully gave you some more things to think about with regard to preparation for disasters, pandemics, etc. This week we're going to look at different types of resources that are available to folks in healthcare related to ethics, like ethics committees, IRB, different IACUC, different types of committees and whatnot that are available to help folks that work in the healthcare field. And then also specifically looking at different types of research, human subject research, animal research, et cetera, and how ethics in those areas are dealt with. So lots of good content there. There is a lecture that I'm pretty sure I recorded that. It was a couple of years ago, as you can see from the date, but I'm sure it was me that recorded that. It's not required, it's optional, but take a listen to that if you're interested in that. We have a discussion that is a case study. Specifically about conducting research in online committees, online communities. So, interesting ethical dilemma related to research in the online world. Our final project is due this week. Obviously, we are in week 7. Believe it or not, it doesn't seem possible really, but so it'll be due by Sunday. And then obviously our quiz for this week as well. So as you're working on your final project, any questions, concerns, issues, let me know. As I had sent out last week, or maybe it was the beginning of this week, there was not, of all of the times that we have in week 8 to do our live session, there was not a single time where more than 3 of us were available, and that's less than half, including me. So there was not a time when there were a good time for all of us to get together. In this class, that particular assignment wasn't graded. It was just a way for us to get together and look at the different assignments. If you did want a place to share them, let me know. We can I can put up a discussion. Maybe I'll do that. I'll put up an optional discussion for week 8 if you're interested in sharing information about your final project. The reason I thought it would be really neat for us to get together and talk about them is all but one of you are doing the same topic. So it would be interesting just the different takes that everyone has on that topic, the different research, the topics that you've chosen. There's volumes of research on out there, so there'll be lots of information for you to pull from. It'd just be interesting to compare. But if we don't have, originally I was thinking, well, maybe I'll have you record a video, but there's no points associated, and I don't want to make folks do things when there's not really a purpose. But maybe I will put up an optional discussion if you do want to make a few points in there about what you found in your research for your final project. It could be interesting to do some comparisons there. So that's it. Week 7 is that. Remember that next week, week 8, is short. So let's actually, I'll just bring this calendar up. So our calendar is short. So let's see. From the 20th to the 24th is our week 8, and that's it. Your next classes do start on the 25th. So make sure that next week you're getting anything in. There probably isn't much. There's probably a quiz and a discussion and an ed puzzle for next week. So just make sure you have them in by Friday. You guys know the drill by now. But if there's any questions on any of that, let me know. So let's look at the quiz quick from last week. So first question, in order to resolve inequalities and inequities in the healthcare system, we must consider which of the following, choose all that apply. So I haven't gone back yet. I will go back in after I finish doing this. I will give you partial credit for those. If you didn't get all 3, it marks it wrong. but I will give you partial credit for ones that you did choose. So horizontal and vertical equity, those are ways that we can consider resolving inequities. And this is right out of the text chapter that's in the chat or in the module for this week. But horizontal and vertical equity. So when you think about horizontal equity, think of a horizon, flat line, and that's, um, uh, you know, equal allocation of assets across that horizon, across the population. So everyone's equal that's in the same population with regard to, giving assets. Vertical equity, obviously think more of a vertical line where different folks along that line, different populations, will have different allocation of resources or whatever it is that they might need. The one thing that I haven't mentioned, make sure you're considering the difference between inequality and inequity. I had talked about that in last week's Ed Puzzle as well, but our inequalities are those variations in the health status of the population or between two different populations. So that inequality is really that variation. Inequity is when that variation is somehow morally unacceptable. So keep in mind those two concepts. Those are important. So the last answer that was correct were differences in outcomes. So we need to consider differences in outcomes, and that goes back to being culturally competent as healthcare administrators, understanding that differences in outcomes could be significant and related to maybe a lack of vertical equity or a lack of horizontal equity, and understanding those and how it is that we might be able to go forward and fix some of those issues and get rid of the inequity in the healthcare system. So all things to consider. Ethics of health policy is not necessarily related to resolution of inequalities or inequities, but also something to think about when we're making changes like that in the system. Next question, again, it's a choose all that applies, so I will go back in and give partial credit where it's due. Epidemics bring about which of the following? So our answers were A, positivity. I think we would all agree that that's not the case. But B, significant morbidity and mortality. C, concerns for balancing personal freedom and liberty with some level of government protection. And D, advances in healthcare. So just a quick look at COVID will tell you that B, C, and D are correct. And A is likely not correct. There wasn't a lot of positivity, especially in the early days of COVID, but we have seen, think about how quickly healthcare researchers mobilized to create a test, to start creating treatments, those types of things. Really significant advances in healthcare, but then also a lot of morbidity and mortality, unfortunately, and concerns about personal freedom and liberty. And we see that continue today, where the government is suggesting you do these things for your protection. They're trying to help people feel that it's infringing on their autonomy. So lots of those types of concerns come about during an epidemic or a pandemic. Next question, disasters. Again, choose all that apply. A, disrupt communities and societies, definitely. B, cause human, economic, and environmental losses. Yep. D, require advanced planning and preparation, meaning that we need to be prepared to deal with a disaster. And then C, my lunch is coming. You guys get to see that. C, do not include human-made events like terror attacks. And that is not the case, that those types of elements are also considered a disaster. So think about, while back, something like 9/11 definitely was a disaster, but even things that we've seen more recently, mass casualty incidents due to active shooter situations, whatnot. Those are all considered disasters, things that we need to deal with as a healthcare entity. So that was our answer there, and that's the last one. So that's all I have. If you have any questions on this week's material or getting your work complete for your final project, just let me know. Oh, one question I have gotten from a few folks, or a couple folks, so most of you, about the final project was length. All I ask is that you are providing a comprehensive look at your topic in both sides with research, not just reflection. There is no defined set of pages that we need. It does need to be an APA format, so make sure you're doing that. I would say that in the past I've probably seen between 6 to 8 pages, but if you can be concise and comprehensive at the same time, I don't have a problem with less pages. Or if you feel you need more, more space to detail your solutions or your both sides of the argument, etc., then more is fine as well. Every topic's going to be different, so that's why I've kind of left that open. I just expect a comprehensive look at those 6 principles. So that's it. So any questions, just let me know. Thanks.